Sreedevi is a thought leader in the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem of India and Europe. She is a Chevening Research and Innovation Fellow from Oxford University, alum of Indian Institute of Management Kozhikode, Osmania, and Kakatiya University, India. She comes with 20 plus years of rich cross functional experience. She is currently the lead for startup ecosystem in Zelpmock Design and Tech Limited. She is the founding CEO of SRIX, SR Innovation Exchange, a technology business incubator in Warangal under the aegis of DST, Department of Science and Technology, GOI. She has initiated and spearheaded many initiatives across India in the last 10 years for US Mission to India, TIE Hyderabad, IACC, FABA, SRIX, NSTEDB, TIE Global, Lions Clubs International. She strongly believes that strategic partnerships across academia, industry, corporate startups are key to any country's economic advancement, especially ours that is experiencing an interesting era. She believes a mindset of innovation and entrepreneurship among the youth will be instrumental in making India an innovation capital. She is the recipient of the prestigious National Entrepreneurship Award by the Government of India in 2019 for her contribution to youth and women in innovation and entrepreneurship. We welcome Sreedevi Devireddy, an innovation and entrepreneurship evangelist.
Good evening, everybody. This is Tim Fraser from Forsys, and I'm here with a really amazing lady who is here to talk about topics that are around the International Women's Day, specifically around breaking the bias. So Sreedevi Devireddy is a VP of Startup Ecosystem at Zelpmock, and she's here today to talk about the women's topic and under the umbrella of the International Women's Day from a unique perspective, which is some things that we don't always talk openly about. And I really want to have an open, frank conversation, Sreedevi. So please tell us a little bit about yourself and why this passion to speak to the people of our company and the world about your view on how your life has been and how the women's discussion should be had.
Tim, firstly, thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be speaking to you and the larger fraternity of people in your company about International Women's Day. I personally feel we as women need role models to follow. If I can inspire one person, if I can inspire one generation, I don't think I need to achieve anything else in my life. This motivates me every day, every minute, every hour of my waking day. At this juncture, I would like to quote a great poet about fear. We women, not only women, men also suffer from fear. We all go through fear, and due to which we don't explore the unknown. We are always comfortable in we are always satisfied with comfort zones. We don't break the barriers. We don't even attempt to break the barriers. In this context, I would like to say a few sentences about, these are not my sentences, these are by Khalil Gibran, a Lebanese American writer and philosopher. So I'll read it out. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled, from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road crossing the forest, and villages in front of her. She sees an ocean so vast that to enter there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear. Because that's where the river will know it's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean. This is an amazing poem by Khalil Gibran. I always believe in this. Sometimes women don't understand that they themselves are not a single person. They are an inspiration to many people. Instead of being stuck in self-pity or being stuck with I'm not treated equally, being stuck with negativity, being stuck with self-doubt, if we can overcome these and think beyond ourselves, we are the ocean, we are the inspiration the rest of the world, whether it's women or men. These are my opinion on what you were asking.
Thank you. That's a really lovely poem. It speaks to your heart. One of the things you had shared with me in the context of being part of something greater and how to get there. These are a lot of times we talk about concepts that are fairly large and wide. I'd like to have a discussion about how do we bring that discussion home as an actionable thing. But before we go there, I'd like to double click in something you shared with me before we got on camera about in your life when you went through how you approach your life as a woman, but as was really more importantly, how do you approach your life as a player in the ocean, right? Can you talk a little bit about your story, about your offer for recognition and how you handled it? I think that's really amazing how you took that perspective, which I think we don't do that. A lot of people don't do that.
I think 9 years ago, I was part of a large organization. I was given the Best Manager Award. Best Manager, in brackets, woman was written, award was given to me. I studied human resource management. I'm a strategy consultant. I don't think leadership is gender specific. I personally think manager is gender agnostic. Leadership should be gender agnostic. So an award should be gender agnostic. So I didn't accept that award. I said, if you don't think that I'm a good manager, I'll wait till I become a good manager. And then you give me a Best Manager Award, not Best Women Manager. And I never accepted it. 3-4 years ago, I was awarded by the Government of India Best Mentor Award, not Best Women Mentor Award. All over the country in the last 6-7 years when the award started, I'm the only person. I happen to be the only woman who got it, fine. But I didn't get a Best Women Mentor Award. So mentors are gender agnostic. Managers are gender agnostic. Leadership, of course, is gender agnostic. I'm a non-feminist. By now, you must have understood. I'm a misogynist. I believe in equality. Yes, I believe in equal rights. I believe in equal opportunities. I believe in equal fair treatment towards all genders. I don't know if this will go with the Women's Day theme, but yes, when we are talking about equality, let us talk about equal rights for everybody.
I'm so glad that you have shared that personal story, because I think everything is fair game in this conversation about International Women's Day. I really think that the conversation that needs to be had in our personal lives and in the world in a corporate setting, the minute we have a conversation about this is a women's topic. There's lots of things we can talk about that are women specific, but in a workplace, let's bring this home inside the box of a workplace. The minute we have a conversation about, well, you need to have a women's allocation of HR and how many people have to be in versus not, and immediately the conversation sets the stage for segregation of women versus men. And I think your theme, what you're saying is, treat me like an equal, treat me like a person who's capable in my job. It's not about my gender. As we all know in this world, it's very dynamic. Gender issues, we make sexuality issues, all those topics that are taboo in the world, in some worlds. It's really about just being treated like a person and treated like a person with value. And so even though today is International Women's Day discussion, it is absolutely about breaking the bias. So how do you say, breaking our thought process? Because when we start having the discussion about segregation and separation, it creates the bias. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. That's my thought. I'll tell you, yes, women need to be given a little more helping hand wherever needed because of the n number of, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, I have a nephew. Like every holidays he comes to me. I'm just telling, we have our responsibilities. I agree. A little more support is needed from all quarters, but that doesn't mean that we need to be given a partial treatment. It has to be an equal opportunity with little support, little nudge, little empathy, little comradeship, little mentoring from different quarters of people, whether it's workplace or whether it is home front. But I personally think it has to be equality rather than reservation. I'm against reservation. I don't know whether you know it or not. Government of India has made it mandatory. Every corporate boards should have at least one woman member. I happen to be advisory council of Institute of Directors of my state, but overall India numbers are only 17% of the boards have women directors. 17%. The reason is it's not that they don't want them to be there. It's just that there are not so many women available who are aware of board rules and who are ready to come out of their zones and be part of certain boards. Mm-hmm. So what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to fill them?
Right.
We just can't make anybody and everybody come and sit on our board. Of course, there are people who are discriminatory and they don't want women to be on the board, but that percentage, I'm not talking about that percentage, I'm talking about the rest of the world. In that 17%, I don't think even 3% of the women are actually heading the board. So that is a sorry state of one piece. how many organizations I see across in various capacities. I'm part of various boards myself. I'm part of various industry bodies more than boards. I end up being the only women. It's not that they don't want more women participation, but women don't want to participate in industry bodies activities. So what are we supposed to do? Just to fill in? We just can't have anybody and everybody sit on the board.
What do you think are the blockers for women, and what can they practically do to change their mindset? Because I think a lot of it comes down to, I mean, absolutely, I'm not saying women's mindset are the problem. We are in a male gender biased corporate environment, and there's no questions about that, right? And creating corporate culture that allows women to truly be empowered is absolutely some of the things that I love what Forsys does as a company. We create this platform to really empower women, but it's not about what HR is going to do for you. It's what you're going to do for yourself. And I'd like to discuss that aspect within the mindset of an individual, and the men and women. But let's talk about the women's perspective. What are the fears you feel like block, and what can we do about that to bring it home as a reality check?
My whole concept is fear, including me. I still have a lot of fears. I keep fighting them day in, day out. Everybody has fears. The main cause is the fear. Due to fear, many women lack the confidence to claim a senior position, to take up a senior position. They are so caught up in day-to-day responsibilities of home front. They feel, let me take non-challenging roles. As long as I have a non-challenging role, as long as I get levi, as long as I get enough number of leaves. First and foremost thing is there's a lot of leakage in the funnel as women grow up the ladder. That itself decreases the number of women in the leadership roles, in the workforce in general, and the leadership roles in particular. Even the ones who are still there in the workforce, confidence, the fear breeds and confidence is low. They don't update themselves. They don't upgrade their knowledge. So if I have to think of really good senior person in tech to take up a really challenging leadership role, they themselves will say, no, we don't want to take it. They will say, I really need some more time to prepare for that, or something like that. So how am I going to change this paradigm? It's not just one of us. There needs to be a socio-cultural mindset change, not only in women, but the rest of the family, to support her, to nurture her, to push her, to break the barriers. The biggest barrier is her own fear.
You know, the fears come from places. It's an interesting mindset shift, right? Fear is a contraction, and love and expansion comes in with a different mindset. A lot of the fears come from change, being afraid to change. And we have a cultural bias in different countries, and certainly in, a lot of our teams for Forsys are in India. There is a different working scenario, more leaning towards traditional thinking around the man of the house, the woman of the house, the roles we play, and how that will change, and whether or not my family is going to support me. Speaking to the men in who are watching this as well, it's really to encourage your wife, your spouse, your lover, whoever, to be in a place of taking that expansion, because they're struggling with the fear of change, and they're struggling with, how is my relationship going to be different if I work so much, or if I work in these hours where I strive for new heights, which I have to, basically prove myself as an individual, not a woman, right? All those things play towards those biases, and I encourage, maybe the discussion around you key thing I think you said, which is we can't just look at this in women's topics and fear as a box. You got to go back to where the fear is and where the support structure is, right? And the fears come from, the fears, as we know, come from lessons we learned. We got burnt. Family relationships can be impacted. When you have a mindset that's fixed, you have to have a dynamic mindset about what is the family relationship to create the platform for the family to win, as opposed to the women or the man to win. What's your thoughts on that? There's a lot of thoughts, topics. We can double click into all of these.
All my life I've been in India, though I've traveled a lot in Europe, UK, but we are Indians, right? A lot of experiences, lot of childhood memories, the way you were brought up have an impact on your mindset when you were growing up, and after you start your work, and your family structure after you get married, and where you're living. Is it a combined family? Is it a nuclear family? What are the support structures available at home? A woman is not a single person. It's just she's an embodiment of all these other conditions. These conditions actually influence her behavior. All these conditions are the reason for which why we don't take up challenging roles. You'll not believe, I know you are in US. Most of us, including me, I didn't want to work for a US company being in India because work hours are long. If I work for a US company, when my daughter was growing up, I will have to take calls in the evening, our Indian evening, IST Indian time, wherein it's morning for you. This is not possible in every household. Right. These are small things, but these do matter. And it depends on the men around her who have actually knowingly or unknowingly encouraged her, supported her, or didn't encourage her or snubbed her or said, it's okay, I'm pretty successful, I'm working really well. Why do you need to work? Don't work. Sit at home. Be with the kids. Do something which keeps you busy. I have heard men say that. I really have heard men say that.
I understand. By the way, that's a challenge that we've had in the U.S. where it's become economically unfeasible to have one income. It forces the topic, right? So, unfortunately, we get forced to make some changes. There's absolutely work-life balance embedded in this conversation and how the women's role plays. But I encourage the men to change their mindset about supporting the women to really be have their equality and their 15 minutes of fame, so to speak, in their job, so they can excel in what they're doing.
I'll put it this way: whatever I am today, I give the credit to the men in my life. My father. So he gave equal opportunity to me along with my brother. So my brother, he is my bestie. He's my brother. We both share anything and everything. Even when I'm unable to do something, he'll say, come on, you're far better than this. You can do far more than this. Mm-hmm. He sometimes underestimates himself, always overestimates me. Mm-hmm. I feel. So my best friends. Fortunately or unfortunately, I have men who are my good friends, I have women who are my good friends, and they've been friends for the last 35 years of my life. All these people help you be what you are. My uncles, everybody. Fortunately, unfortunately, I'm surrounded by amazing men who have been my pillar of strength. What else can you ask for in life? But not everybody is as privileged as this. So they have to overcome the fear, learn to negotiate, increase their interpersonal and intrapersonal skills to negotiate with the people in the house. I won't call it men in the house. I'll say people in the house. Influencers are gender agnostic. Let's keep it that way.
Absolutely.
So then they can overcome the fear, or even if they have the fear, they'll still take that step and reach where they want to reach. It may be baby steps. Finally, it will be giant steps.
Right. The little nuggets you catch along your life, the image of how do you keep a crab in a basket? If you put the crab in a basket, it'll climb out, right? The way you keep a crab in a basket is you put 10 other crabs in the basket. And the minute one tries to climb out, the other one will pull it down. So be careful who your crabs are, the crabby people that you are hanging with, but they'll keep you from climbing out of the basket. And that's the image I have. A lot of that is who are the crabby people around you, and do they want you to fit into their model, so that they will prevent you from really being a mindset of expansion, which is what I think, equality and expansion and growth. So you become a strong individual. As opposed to and part of the larger ecosystem, like you said, right? So
it's all the ecosystem. Surround yourself with people who motivate you, people who believe in you, people whom you trust, people who cut the negativity, cut the pessimism, men are not your enemies. They are your allies. They are your fathers. They are your brothers. They are your mentors. They are your colleagues. I've seen in my 24 years of work life, my colleagues have come to my rescue n number of times during rains, during floods, when cabs are on strike. These are the people who are there for you. So the more we get into this, men are our enemies, men are the ones who are not allowing us to grow. You are self-sabotaging your own career and your own self-growth. this is my take on things. I wish all the women the very best.
Well, going back to my my image of the crabs in a basket, right? Be careful which crabby people you hang around, which will hold you back, right? So sometimes it's family, sometimes it's friends, and it's your best friends who will do that to you, right? So be really careful about like that. So I would like just maybe if you can leave one last closing statement of jewel and nugget that people can just sit with coming out of this video that you would want them to think about.
Arise, awake, stop not till you reach your goal by Swami Vivekananda. Just go girl, go. You'll get whatever you want.
And you've done some amazing things in your life and your career. So we really appreciate you imparting your wisdom and your life experience and taking a maybe a little radical perspective than what we typically have under the umbrella of the International Women's Day. But I think that dialogue is necessary for us to break through. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.